Assalamu alaikum, wonderful viewers. Welcome to the Political Hour Show here on Eco TV International, the People's Choice, where we invite politicians, women, youths, and many more people to discuss about the pressing issues in the country here. And today with me here is one of the aspiring youth in the Gambia here who has shown his interest for the position of the president in the Gambia here. He wanted to contest in the 2026 presidential election. Inshallah, he will introduce himself shortly. But before that, you can kindly follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sponsors are also invited. You can call on the various numbers on the screen to sponsor this program. I am your host, Rohit Ture. Join us every week to have this episode with me here on Eco TV International, the People's Choice. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Rohia. We are very happy coming to Eco TV today. Like you said, I am Ahmadou, the leader of the Tabax-Reewmi movement. We have, like you said, declared our intentions to lead the country for the common good. So our objectives are absolutely very honest, and it was born out of the continuous challenges that the people of the Gambia continue to live over many decades, since independence, I can say. So I am very happy to be here with Eco TV today.
Thank you very much. Now, before we move into what motivated you to wanting to stand for the president of the Gambia, you can tell us more about yourself, your background information, where you started from.
Yeah, thank you. Usually, I was born and raised in Reewmi, a village called Medina Serimas. Also in Reewmi, I did my basic and secondary education, and I did my higher education in the Combos. Started with the GDTI, where I did a professional program called ABE. And I also did a postgraduate in Institute of Commercial Management, with the UK Institute of Commercial Management, and I also a master's in finance management with specialization in finance with the SUbcribe University. So I have worked in the Gambia since 2008 that I started as a trainer, as a lecturer at the GDTI. That was when I finished my ACCA program, ABE program that I was doing, the Associate of Business Executive in Business Administration. When I finished, the management there believed that, or thought that I could have served. I was going to be very important. It was going to be important for me to serve because maybe they saw potentials in me at that time that I can probably deliver and I can help students. Then that was when they recruited me to start training. So since then, I have been with the GDTI since 2008 to something like 2015. Then I got engaged in politics. And you also know there is always the issue or this challenge with politicians, especially when they're civil servants engaging in politics. So then after I left, taking a leave of absence to concentrate into politics. Then later, in 2017, then I went back to education again, but this time at the Management Development Institute, where I currently serve also as a trainer. So my work has always been around training. There are also do a lot of consultancy services, especially in business advisory, business plan development, business strategies, and stuff like that. So that I also do on a part-time basis as a consultant. So also I have been engaged in politics. In 2015, that was the first time that I developed, probably conceived this idea of probably contesting for elections, for presidential elections. Okay. During that time, when we started our work to do the ground work and all of that, we visited an elderly person who told us at that time that somebody else also visited him for the same purpose. And that time, that was the leader of the GDC, Mama Kande. And that man advised and said, I believe the two of you can discuss and then can see how to do things together. That was what we did. And when we met, discussed, we had a lot of agreements. Then we decided to create the GDC. So I am one of the founders of the GDC.
Okay.
Then we created it. There also I have served in different portfolios. I have started as the auditor, then from there as the finance secretary of the party, then from there as the public relations officer of the party, and from there as second deputy leader of the party, until I resigned, when I resigned in December of 2022. So I have been engaged through that time. Also, I was a member of the Gambia Inter-Party Committee, a permanent member for that matter. So I have been in the center stage of Gambian politics since, I can say, 2015. Throughout the time of the coalition debates, the formation of coalition, I have always been actively engaged, being an important stakeholder. And even after that, there has been a lot of negotiations that happened in the Gambia through the United Nations here and there, like the AU and all of that. Like through the emissaries of people like Dr. Muhammad in the chambers of the UN Special Envoy, also people like Goodluck Jonathan, President Goodluck Jonathan, and others. I have always been engaged in those activities. So of course, like yes, we're young though, but we have been keenly interested in politics and have been in politics, and I believe we understand. Actually, we have attained the necessary requirements that one would be expected of one who would be seeking for the office of the president in Gambia.
Okay, then according to your story, you wanting to become a president is not something new, because it is since 2015 that you wanted to contest, but it was not possible. So now, can you tell us why you want to become the president of the Gambia?
Yeah, because I have a belief that the belief is a country will only be built by their people. And then again, countries cannot be built without utmost sacrifice that everybody would have to. There has to be an assembly of people. The assembly will have to be assembly in conscience, assembly in mind, assembly in faith and in intention. Then I understand clearly today the most vulnerable in this country, probably, among them is the youth. And they are not on the table when we discuss matters of our country. But again, as the world revolved, the current needs of the people of the Gambia probably is different from what it was 10 years, 20 years ago. And I believe by virtue of that, there is some kind of a misunderstanding from the generation that had probably led this country to date, that of course what the Gambia needs today is a new breed of politicians, but not only because they have to be new, but they're supposed to be people, of course, who understand clearly what this country needs and also what to do with the country, probably if entrusted with them. I have lived in this country throughout my life, and I live among the people who struggles on a daily basis to earn ends meet as a public worker. So I see firsthand the kind of struggles that the people of the Gambia goes through on a single day, right? I have seen firsthand the challenges that are faced by women on a daily basis, what they do to be able to support their families, support their children's education and all of that. So I usually call myself a living witness of the challenges of this country. Then I said, also leading it would have to be made different from what we used to see. Because what will build this country is, like I said, that assembly I've talked about would have to be, I believe, youths that will come together in one voice, but not only that, with absolute honesty and faith and truthfulness towards their country. That what needs to happen is that we would have to see ourselves as the ones that are supposed to take the necessary sacrifice. We cannot enjoy this country. So the reason why I want to lead this country is to help the Gambian people know that there is an ultimate sacrifice that has to be taken. And so that I will lead in taking that sacrifice. And that is, all of us, this generation, need to understand that we need to sacrifice our wealth, our time, our life, our energy. For who? Not us. Maybe not even our immediate children, but our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. I believe it will be a shame that this generation also hand over this country to another generation in the state that it is today. So actually our motivation is that we have been neglected for quite too long. The welfare of the Gambian people, the happiness, the dignity of the Gambian people have been auctioned over many years. And I believe it is time that it has to stop. So some people, right, who believe that might have been guided by Allah, that they believe that they are honest, should take up the mantle and lead in that fight. It's not going to be an easy one. I know it's going to be a very, very difficult one. I have faced it quite many times. In fact, currently I am facing it, right? That has to do with some administrative issues and here and there. So that is how difficult it's going to be. But we need to understand that it's a sacrifice that we must take. Those who earned us independence, they took a sacrifice. A lot of them lost their time, their life, the happiness of their children. But they say, no, we're going to get our country. Say, they've gotten us a country, right? And handed over that country to this generation that have been coming since independence. But where we are today is not promising. Like I usually say, if you were opportune to wake any one of those that earned us independent and take them to another tour of this country, they may even say that had they known, they would have left this country in the hands of colonial masters. Because what they yearned for, what they were looking for, is not actually the current state that we live in today. So this is our motivation, and this is actually what we are trying to call on youths of the Gambia to rally behind.
Yeah, you've mentioned that the people of this country are suffering a lot. Do you believe that the government has failed us or not?
They have. I believe absolutely that this government has failed the Gambian people in many ways, right? Now, let us take this example. There is a concept that I used to say. Every government has a mission, right? You must have a mission.
Exactly.
Now, that mission, you see, the moment you miss that mission, there is no length, no amount of good that you can do that will be visible to the people. The mission of this government since 2015 should have been to lay a foundation that will forever put Gambia in the right track. That was their mission. And in fact, they understood that very clearly when they were asking for our votes. This was why, because they know that in the current situation, in the current environment, political environment around the world, that a country needs to have, people need to sense freedom and independence. And this was why when they want to come in, they've promised, right, working on the issues of freedom of express, freedom of the media, freedom of assembly. And in fact, that's why they all have caricatured the Public Order Act and call it names, that it was barbaric and it was draconian. That was one of their mission. That it was their mission that they will usher in, they will give us a constitution that every Gambian can trust and rely on. In fact, it was them that insulted, that caricatured, that downplayed the 1997 Constitution up to an extent that the 1997 Constitution no more holds that trust from amongst the people of the Gambia. And a Constitution, one thing that is fundamental that every Constitution needs to be able to rule is the trust of the people. So they have made that promise. After they have caricatured that one, they made people not to trust that one no more. They promised us they were going to give us a new constitution. And they've come in, and up till this minute they cannot, due to only personal interest. Now that was one of their most critical missions that they were supposed to pass. Right? Again, the issues of term limits for the presidency. A lot of people in 2016 fought against Jammeh. You know why? Because they believe that the country was not Jammeh's property, that Jammeh have to do term and leave, and other people also come. We believe through that succession, this Gambia will continue to evolve alongside time, right? So now look at it this way. That was one of the promise. In fact, the president went beyond that by saying that he was only going to serve for 3 years, right? Now he is looking to serving for 15 years. And who knows, right? Where has he even any intention to stop there if that was supposed to happen? So you see that the mission that they call on the Gambian people in 2016, there is nothing almost of that mission that they have delivered. So therefore, bottom line and the truth is, then they have failed the people, because they have not delivered on the promises that they have made, on the mission that they sold to the Gambian people. And then just look at it this way. In 2016, yeah, Jammeh was here, Mama Kande was here, they were here. They had their own mission that they sold to the Gambian people. The Gambian people know, Mama Kande, Honorable Mama Kande, it's okay, we know what you said, we know your agenda, but stay out. We don't want it. Or we want it, yeah, but we prefer another one. To them, another promise. And that was President Barros and his entourage's promise. So they have failed in all those, failed to deliver all of those fundamental aspects that assemble Gambians, right, to vote against the former regime. So therefore, by virtue of that, I would have to say that they have failed. So that is one part, but not talking about the challenges that people are. They have talked about, for example, a year ago or so, that they were going to create 150,000 jobs, targeting the youths. What did they do after that? Right? Take our children, right, to Saudi Arabia to serve as maids. Take the cream of this society, the healthiest group of Gambians, right? The youth that are in their mid-30s, 20s, the healthiest, right, group of the cream of this society to go to Spain to do what? Clear farms, pick oranges, and things like that. That is a failure, because that is totally contrary to the promise that they made, that they were going to give us 150,000 jobs. So for me, and again, when they took over government, yes, Gambia had debts at that time. Within 8 years, they have multiplied that debt. So that also cannot be referred to as success. So if you look at the number of unemployed Gambians, especially youths, you look at the crime rates and challenges that people are going through on a daily basis. And then also, but most important, the promises and pledges that they have made to the Gambian people. And of course, at the end of it, they have failed in all of them. Therefore, every sane person will agree that the government have failed, right, in their promises, and also in alleviating poverty, but also in supporting the Gambian people to restore dignity to them and a good life. So for me, of course, they have failed.
Okay, now, and talking about term limits too, in the constitution now, it is mentioned that every president elected would serve 2 terms, and now Barrow is serving his 2nd term right now, and he has shown his interest for the 3rd term too. Now, and it is said that every leader must lead the people and live by example.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, he's shown his interest for the 3rd term. Now, what has that taught you? Because in the normal sense, he's going against his own words and defying the constitution.
Absolutely. Because what happened is, right, what it teaches me, and it should teach all Gambians, right, that, you see, we have to trust people. When they come to us, before he came in 2016, I never knew Barrow, right? I never know anything about Barrow. I don't know him, right? So he's a Gambian. He came up to us as Gambians and talked to us. At that point in time, we had no reason, right? We have no reason to to put up resentment on his words or not to trust him. But what the Gambians, let's say the Gambian people should learn, is that holding leaders against their words. If they have made a promise to you and they fail that promise without any regret or remorse, then the Gambian people should instantly rise up and remind them of their promises. And in fact, President Barrow should not have come up to this level. The Gambian people should have learned. Immediately he renegated from the 3 years promise he made, because that was one of the reasons why the Gambian people voted him. And he renegated from that promise. That should have been the alarm, so that by the first election he had, right, he would have been booted out. And that was what was supposed to happen. So the lesson is, the Gambian people should start holding politicians. Politicians have developed this I'm not sure whether I can call it a PR or strategy with them also, that for the Gambian people, say whatever you want to say. Even if it is as terrible or as bad as whatsoever it is, they will only talk about it for 3 days and they let it go. So, and this is not in public interest. So therefore, the biggest lesson to learn here is leadership or leaders are supposed to be people with the highest caliber of character. One of the yardsticks that we can use to measure that caliber of character would be being able to stand by your words. If a leader has failed, right, in standing by their own promises, and you want to continue to believe that they will take you to the promised land, that is almost close to hallucination. We shouldn't accept that, right? So I believe that for the president to renegade from his promises is only telling the Gambian people, right, that I am never, ever going to take you to the promises that I have given you. And therefore, the lesson to learn from that by Gambian people is to start charging politicians against their words, reminding them, like what we have trending now, the verse. Yes, to remind them of what they have said in the past. What they have, these are important. And we need to hold them accountable for their promises, right? So I believe that is the biggest lesson. It is unfortunate that the Gambia would be in 2025 without a third republic, right? And just look at it this way, sis. With all that was said and done against the former regime, you still, in 2025, going to 10 years by next year, have the constitution that you have ridiculed to continue to rule the activities of the presidency and the cabinet and the judiciary and the nation. Right? So how can you, and what they're doing, and look at it this way. When they came, the only amendment that they have made in the constitution was only for their own interest and not for national interest. Right? So all this speaks in volume. Right? And I think the Gambian people should start reminding themselves of the promises that they have made since 2015 and 2016. Right? The battle that have been waged in this country. And they used the people. Those that were killed were the youths. Those that were, like they said, tortured, like they said, right, were them. Not the politicians. Exactly. Right? Especially those the heads of political parties and ministers. Not them. So therefore the people need to wake up. Right? And now is the time we have to do that. You have to do that.
Okay, now regarding your vision and leadership, if you have been elected in the next presidential election, what will be your core vision for the Gambia in the next 5 to 10 years?
Good. Thank you. We have written our program, our blueprint. We call it Agenda Building Gambia. And we haven't left any sector of our economy out. Now, one thing that every leader needs to understand is for any organization to work, take Gambia as an organization, for Eco TV to work, for Eco TV to function, the leadership here would have to make an effective and efficient use of the resources of Eco TV. One of those resources, most important, is the people of Eco TV, the staff. So the Gambia, also as a country, have resources. One of those resources is the people. Do all the past regime, one of the things that they have always failed to put attention to is the resource, people as resource. This government that came in, they have their manifesto. If you go through their manifesto, you will not see any detailed program talking about the people. Now what we say as Tabax-Reewmi is, there is no way you can build this country without the effective use of the most important resource of this country, and that's the people. You need to have to make sure that the people are molded in the right way. They are given armed with the right character, right attitude, but also the patriotism, that nationalism, that love of a country, that being ready to serve the people, to understand that working for government is serving to your community and your people. That people need to be molded in that way, that manner, that pattern first. So we're saying there are many other resources that we know what to do with them, and of course we're going to do. But people is key, and we must start from the people.
They are the most important.
They are the most important. So we have to make sure the people are trained with the right skills that we need to build this country. In some of our projects, you will see that we will try as much as possible to discourage importation. How are you going to do that without having the right people with the right skill sets to be able to do it? So you see, you need to build the people. If you want, they're talking about production. They want to build factories. So who's going to work there? You don't have the people, so who's going to work there? So you need to first build the people. Just take an example. They're talking about selling Gamcel, but the buyers, sorry, Gamtel, but the buyers are saying, we can buy it, but we're not taking your children. Why? Because the government and the institution, example, as that's the government, have failed in developing the people. So the people need to be developed, right? I'm not anti taking Gambians outside to do what AOB, no. But the way we take Gambians outside to serve as mates, they also could have been taken outside to serve as engineers.
Exactly.
Right? And directors and head of institutions. People that are leaving Singapore to other parts of the world, they go as professionals. So they could have been leaving the source of the Gambia, going outside as professionals. And they would make a lot of money, and still, wherever they are, they will pay tax to the Gambia. You see the point? So therefore, fundamental to our project is the people is key. We can never build this country without the right people. From the people, what comes first is the right mindset. The mindset needs to be instilled in the people. That they know government is about serving. One, that they know each and everyone else should do whatever it takes. Right? When you leave your home, going to work, what you see is not what you get back from that work in monetary terms, but the satisfaction you earn knowing that your actions today have saved lives. That should be the concept, right? So therefore, priority is about the people, having that understanding between the leadership and the people. And that's why we say, when we come to office, one of the first things that we would do is making sure everybody who works for government, everybody in the private sector will clearly know what I intend to do. And that's why, from the first days, we will have some stakeholder engagements. Example, as leader, right, and heads of governments across the government, as leaders and the private sector. And in those meetings, that very first one would be about me informing them of what I want and what I will be doing. The kind of government that I will run, right? I will not condone anything that has to do with corruption, right? With treachery. I will not have to do with breaking of laws and stuff like that. This has to be made very clear so that they know who I am. And also then, immediately after that, stand by those words. Yeah. The very first person that will, whatever, break the laws also, will see the wrath of the law. By the time it happens once, everybody will understand and know who this person is and what he wants. And people, of course, will fall in line. Everybody loves the country. Everybody wants to see the country do well. Yeah. So the problem is the leadership. So most fundamental, what we will make sure we do is that within our 4 years, we will make sure we take this civil service to a glory that has never been experienced in the Gambia. To the peak of glory, to the peak of public service. Right? That's one. Now secondly, we believe that another objective, government should have one great vision. And that vision for us is going to be made publicly and very clear. And that is, have a timeline, that Gambians who are living below the poverty line are all uplifted and taken out of that, below that poverty line. What that means will be, any decision that we're supposed to take or will be taking, any action that government will take or will be taking, any investment or monetary action of investment that government will be taking, will consider whether the action or taking that action will uplift Gambians from poverty or not. For example, if I can just give you an example, we have seen the government of the Gambia, this current government, spending up to $1 billion in buying cars.
Yeah.
What has that got to do with the ordinary Gambians? Has it brought any benefit to their lives, any changes to their lives? No. In fact, it adds burden to them, because that money could have been used to better up the services in the health sector.
Yeah.
Right? So, or to subsidize education, agriculture. So all these things. So therefore, another thing is like having a vision that is very clear, and everybody understand this is the vision, right? And then these are the roadmaps that will be taken. So the way I can say it in that is the same way that we have it in all resources in the Gambia. Example, you go to fishing, for example, right? You go to fishing. What's happening in our seas is terrible. Gambians are not benefiting from our sea, right? So I'm not even saying government cannot, for example, have a contract with another country to fish from your sea, but go for deals that make sense. You want to fish in my sea, for example. You're talking about 3,000 tons of tuna, for example, a year.
Okay.
I can tell you no problem, you can do that, right? But the boat that you use is a very good one that can fish. After 5 years, belongs to the Gambia.
Okay.
For example, that boat alone, after 5 years, will employ hundreds of Gambians. And you start fishing to process yourself.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of actions that we're thinking about that had to be done. And again, you come to job creation. Arm the people with skills. I had a program yesterday, I made mention of one example. I've seen of recent one young man who is making wheelbarrows. Right? Where I'm quite sure that he got the materials from the irons, used irons and whatsoever in the country. The ferrite. How many people are coming from outside, India, wherever, come to the Gambia to buy ferrite? And the wheelbarrows he made is very used. Now, what is the government supposed to do? I am urging the government to call that young man and see how to help him. Right? Turn that skill into a factory. And then what you do immediately after, stop the importation of wheelbarrow in the country. That will turn out to be a multi-million business, employ a lot of Gambians, right? And then it will reduce the burden of foreign currency into the outside of the Gambia. For every export you pay out foreign currency. Yeah, so it supports the central bank.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have a very clear and rich vision for the development of the Gambia. Now, why do you believe that you are the right leader for the people of the Gambia at the moment?
Yes, I believe I am. I will be a very good and a right leader for the Gambia, because first and foremost, I have tried to mold myself in some way that I am, inshallah, by the grace of the Almighty, not going to be anybody that will ever put personal interest before national interest. I have tried to raise myself through that line. Like the saying goes, the political environment is so open, right? And then the moment you have people following you, you can sell out yourself. This movement is followed by people all over the country. A lot of people would be interested to have me form alliance with them and so and so. But I'm saying the mission that I have is a fight, is a battle, that we get to the ground, to the Gambian people, wherever they are, and honestly have some exchange with them. That's one. Secondly, I know, and I live firsthand, the troubles and difficulties of this country. So I know it. I know what the problems are.
Experience is the best knowledge.
Experience is the best knowledge. I've experienced it from all out. Right? I'm a civil servant, a public servant, being paid that meager salary, having a family to feed, so I know what the challenges are. Right? I have earned the right education that I need. So if these were to be seen as whatever, of course I have earned them. Thirdly, all people that I have lived with across have that trust, right, in what I do or probably what I say or so, because based on experience or the changes that they have, exchange that they have with me as a person. Right, so therefore, and then thirdly, I don't want to get to those issues, but like what I want to say is like, I believe if the Gambian people are looking for honesty, I always and every day pray to Allah the Almighty to help me to be an honest person. If they're praying for somebody who is contented, who will live by his word, one of the things that I always pray for, anytime that I put my forehead on the ground, is for Allah to make me among those that He guides Himself from going astray. That is my trust. And I believe if, inshallah, Allah guide us and help us and put the trust of this country into our hands, I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us and will guide us through.
Inshallah, may Allah help you.
Amin ya rabbal alamin.
Léegi pour nga nekk président pour contest am nga da ngaa fay fii te léegi gis nañ ne yokk nañ fii bi to $1 million. Léegi si yow sa xelaat lan nga foog ne loolu la may wala sorry
waaw non waaye ñu rafet na ñëw na
like why do you think the government increased the price lu tax ñu yokk ko is it that they wanted to discourage ñoo xam ne dañ bëgg a taxaw pour presidency wala lan nga wax ñu sa xelaat
sister jëf boobu jëf bu ñaaw la jëf bu bon la bu ñaaw la maanaam Gambien si li ñu war a njëkk a bàyyi xel mooy 2015 nguur gi ak ñi ko andi dañ doon dox ñaxtu di protest coow nañ fii si loi yu ñaaw yi nga xam ne ñu ne moo fi ne bokk na si loi bi nga xam ne mooy doxal politique réew mi lañ doon dig Gambien si mooy suñ jotee réew mi loi yu ñaaw yooyu dañ koy génne bañ jotee réew mi something specific mooy li nga wax bi nga wax nii bañ jotee réew mi lañ njëkk a def mooy prices yii nga xam ne moom lañ tax si nominations ak ku war a ut nguur si réew mi muy président wala député wala muy mayor wala chairperson wala councilor ku ko war a ut la nga xam ne moom lañ fa tegoon ñoom bañ lañ fa fekk dañ ko wàccee bu baax parce que ñu ne jubutoon nekkul yoon ñoom ñii ñoo ko wax président Barrow ak ay nitam ñu ne nekkutoon dëgg nekkutoon njub one of their excuse moo doon loola dafa xañ képp koo xam ne ku ñàkk nga daf la xañ ca àq pour laajte li nga moom so li tax may wax loolu mooy pour fàttali Gambien ci ñoom lan lañ waxoon lan moo taxoon léegi la leer the reason is now clear lan moo taxoon ñu def ko ñoom booba amuñ te ñoom booba soxla nañu sampa 53 MPs understand nga bugga nañu sampa 100 and something councillors bugga nañu sampa juróom-ñaari mayors fan la ñu jëlee xaalis bi ñoom amuñ ñu gis ne kon liy dëgg ak yoon pour ñëpp mën a gis def seen àq nañu ko wàññi bu am doole ñu wàññi ko xam nga lan moo xam lu xew tey président Barrow ak ay nitam nguur gi ak MP si nekk si house bi dem nañ ba gis ne ñoom tey am nañ léegi ñu ne they are talking to the Gambian people ñoo war a eewu ñoom ñu ngi waxtaan ak baadoolo yi what they saying is ñu ngi wax baadoolo yi ne miskin warta doon dara ci réew mi ñu ngi wax baadoolo yi ne yow mi nga xam ne jur nga sa doom yar ko ni nga ko war a yaree mu doon ni ku baax nga def njub ci moom ak dëggu ci moom kooku la réew soxla pour réew dem kanam understand nga tey ñoom li ñu wax mooy yow moomu nga xam ne tey jël nga sa doom yar ko ni nga ko war a yaree def ko koy mu ku baax ku màndu ko am ngor ko am jom waaye néew na doole ñu ngi lay wax ne njub am jom am ngor doon gor loolu nekkatu réquisite ñu ne li nekk réquisite mooy lan ñi nga xam ne am nañ ñooñu ñooy rek ñi am sañ-sañ pour yor place ci réew mi nguur gi loolu la nekk di wax doomu réew mi na mu des si ñoom ñu war a am fulla war a am fayda xam ne yabeel passé wut lii yabeel la tey la ko président Barrow ak ay nitam man tey la ko député yooyu ñoom ñëpp li ëpp ci député yi kenn ko ne si ñoom ba muy dem si assemblée last législature bu passé dépasse problème la woon ci moom waxuma la xaalis bu moo taxawee we have experienced it 2 times nekk naa si parti boo xam ne sponsor nañ lot of candidates we know how what struggle they go through parti bu ne si ñoom tey nekk fa kenn ku ne xam na how they struggle pour make sure seen député yi mën a contest elections kon tey lañ ko am léegi nag li ñu wax mooy yow ndaw bi nga xam ne youth man nga yow ndaw li nga xam ne xale bu jigéen nga am nga 18 years doon ku baax jàng nga am xam-xam nekk fa gën a sori si àll bi ñoom ñu ne waroo tekki ci réew mi wala yor place boo xam ne place nguur la place bi ñu sànni kàtta la ci réew mi is a very strong lesson it's a very strong insult to the dignity and the welfare of the Gambian people li ci gën a garaaw ma wax la benn mbir siis gis nga suñ defoon nomination for president 5 million du stop presidential candidate lam doonoon 2015 ñu yokk ko ba 2016 ndax dafa stop kenn président ñi bëgg a taxaw déedéet stop leen 2021 dafa stop benn président mu taxaw déedéet 2026 suñ defoon nomination for président 10 million du stop kenn ku war a taxaw pour président commitment bi ma am about Gambia su demoon ba des jaay suma kër pour make sure ne ñii génn a fi danaa ko def kon loolu du stop presidential candidate xam nga fan la garaaw bi nekk in the House of Assembly yow da nga war a dem assembly xale nga yeew nga am nga awareness li fi nekk naxari na la boo nga contribute andi njub si dëkk bi fooy jëlee 150,000 booy def nomination war a utiloo campagne yi doo ko am suma brother dafa war a dem assembly pour soppi lu fa nekk te nekk lu baax so gis nga ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi wax naanaam non candidate bi dafa no it's not about presidential candidates lii is about ñi nga xam ne fail nañ te nekk example in the house ñi nga xam ne fail nañ te nekk in the mayor ak chairperson ñooñu lañ nekk di protect pour ndaw yi nga xam ne ñu ngi si communities yooyu noonu nag nit ñi xam nañ leen am nañ kàddu te jub nañ ndaw yooyu bu ñëw
time bi jàmfaan nañu time bi jeex na waaye incha allah dinañ amaat beneen épisode bi jekkali wax bi
incha allah
lu bari mu ngi si gannaaw loo xam ne mun nañ ko discuss léegi mun nga wax sa final kaddu jamono bi ñu dégg
thank you very much may kontaan rek di sant Eco TV and their management di la sant yow bu baax a baax ak suma brother bu nekk si technicien bi di wax ne li nga xam ne moom lay wax final kaddu ndawi Gambien si li nga xam ne moom ngeen juddu fekk ko fi lu naxari la dund bu métti ñun ñëpp si leen juddu si la ñaru ba toll nii mais bi mënuñoo sikka suñuy waajur right si am réew mu mel nii waaye ñun nañ fexe ba suñuy njaboot ëllëg suñuy sët duñu sikk duñu wax ne génération boobu Ahmadou Ka tombeeloon is the worst generation Gambia ever had ñun loolu nañ ko daw te nuñ ko dawee mooy génnee li fi ne yóot si nañ xam ne nguur gi dafa takk xare ak yéen si yóot si moo tax ñu ne youth man waroo nekk koo xam ne war ngaa dem si néegi député yi moo tax ñu jéem a andi price boobu noonu pour caañ ne da nga fay 150,000 pour nomination lii is a battle against youth si every day su ngeen waree taxaw si dëkk bi di dox ñaxtu di protest you see crackdown on you su ngeen bindee pour exercise a right guaranteed by the constitution of the Gambia the which guarantees your freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. They use Public Order Act and bar you from doing it. Dafa métti te li Gambia solo tey mooy sacrifice ñun ñëpp nañ leen ñëw together nañ leen sacrifice xam ne ñun waruñoo nekk ñuy benefit Gambia ñuy benefitoo Gambia we cannot benefit the luxury of Gambia ñun dañ war a sacrifice lépp lu ñu am ak sunu life ëllëg si bàmmeel sunuy bàmmeel 100 years 200 years ay ñaan di ñu fa fekka comme na Chinese yi di yéenee lu baax Chairman Mao American si di ko yéene ay Abraham Lincoln ak ñeneen right ñeneen ñi def noonu ñeneen ñi def noonu so nattu boobu la ñu yàlla teg te ñun ñëpp nañ ko understand ñu work towards that inshallah. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, jërëjëf bu baax. It's a pleasure having you here, and next time inshallah we will talk about more. Well, this is how we've come to the end of the program. This is Eco TV International, the People's Choice, the program Political Hour Show with me, Rohiyatu Toure. Inshallah.